Okay guys, this one has a good chance it's going to be an epic, so hopefully you're ready to strap in. It's got a lot to cover. This is about the protest that happened at Victoria Police Headquarters just recently. As you can see, these are some of the main protagonists that spoke. I'm going to focus on just one of them, the guy on the right hand side today. The one in the middle, if I focus on him, I'd be here for a couple of days. So I'm just going to focus on one on the right. Nick Patterson. As you can see down below, obviously you can see the actual police officers guarding their headquarters, with their arms, etc., crossed, with their big militarized uniforms, looking menacing. So, all right, we're going to get into it. This is basically to highlight how mind control really works, where you are getting people who are just the same as each other to work against not only each other but themselves. And so first we're going to look at some of the things, the mindset of anyone who's enticed to be a police officer. Right, we're going to have a quick look at that. And we're also going to look at these people and their religious mindset, which basically make sure that they're going to stay enslaved while they believe they're doing things for their own freedom. And so we're going to show the contrast, or I'm going to show the contrast between truth and the two types of religious mindsets. I mean, they're all given from the same people, except it just gets them to work against each other. And this is, where people work against themselves, because we're all just individuals, to serve a ruling class without realizing what they're actually doing, just because they want to remain comfortable in the beliefs that have actually been impregnated into them. And they've got a real attachment. So I'm going to show you how all that looks. So first I'm going to go into the definition of controversy. Controversial comes from the Latin adverb contra, meaning facing, face to face, up against, and the Latin verb, I think it's versare, meaning to change, to alter. So essentially it means coming face to face with changing. And here it says you cannot change what you refuse to confront. Really critical. So I'm just going to thank Mark Passio for this. Again, I've pinched it because it just wasn't worth me creating something, putting extra time on how already long it takes me to put things together. So a little shortcut. So thank you to Mark, if you're listening, buddy. All right, now we're going to get into Mark saying a few things that are quite controversial.
It might be in contradiction to the truth. That's a religion. If they say, well, my job depends on conducting this violence, and if I quit my job, what am I going to do for money? That's a religion.
So now he's talking about the religion of people who become order followers. The classic version related to this post is obviously police, military, anyone in the bureaucracy, government departments, you name it, all order followers, right? In the classic sense, obviously in day-to-day, like private enterprise, it's pretty much the same thing. There's an imbalance of power. It's do as I say, not as I do. And so if you're in that role where you actually take on that position, that's your religion, right? Because what else am I going to do for money? The only way I can get money is to, prop up the imbalance of power. And now this is where it gets a bit more controversial. So if you don't like swearing, probably not worth you sticking around. Just to give a caveat, if you understand swearing as an intensity of emotion based on suffering, especially when you know what the truth is and you're reliant on the majority to accept the truth and they refuse it, then hopefully that'll give you a bit more understanding of what's really behind why Mark's swearing here.
Sometimes it's like I'm talking to a wall, just like the Satanist told me I would be. We have them so enthralled, was the actual word. I didn't even really know what enthrallment or thrall was. I had to actually look it up. We have them so enthralled.
So what he's talking about there is that when he was part of the Church of Satan, I think it was, so he was obviously dabbling and working with that sort of religious order. This is what they said to him when he said he can't do this anymore. So just to give you some context.
Is what the Satanist that I said, I don't really think I'm on board with this from a moral point of view. I have a lot of doubts about what you guys are doing. And he said, boy, there's the door. You think we need you? We've been doing this for thousands of years, and we'll continue to do it for thousands more. And you think we need little old you? He's basically saying we use whoever comes in and is willing to help us, and we'll throw them whatever chump change we have. We'll throw them our fucking chump change bullshit money system.
So right there, that's the police right there in a nutshell, right? They all got a mortgage to pay. You know what they say, I've got my family fee. They all say that. So, and you think about how you would have heard, across the time this whole COVID scandemic thing was on, you would see posts coming up about, the bankers saying they don't care who's in government. All they care is that they control the money system. So this is basically what they're saying is, as long as we have a system of dependence and the human mind believes it needs what we create, then we own them. That's basically what he's saying. And so, in a nutshell, that's what the majority of the people that exist on this planet are slaves to. The idea in the mind that we're dependent on this fake money that they create. Right? And so, obviously, it's pretty difficult to do it by yourself. It needs the entire floor to raise. That means all human consciousness to raise together to get rid of that sort of idea and that belief. So, if you're by yourself, you're sort of bound to it. That's the downside, and that's what he's going to be obviously expressing here. So just wanted to give that context as well before Mark continues.
And watch them scramble to go get it. And they'll do it like the fucking tool that they are. He's like, there's so many fucking people waiting in line to do our bidding. You think we need you, punk? Get the fuck out of here. Just like that. In the immediate second, he didn't think about it for 1 millisecond. He's like, you got a problem? There's the fucking door, boy. Just like that. And he said, by the way, you want to go and tell people what you think you understand? Go right ahead. He said, we have them so enthralled, you'll waste your entire fucking life. You'll finally realize what these people are, why we do what we do to them. And guess what? He spoke the absolute truth to me. The absolute truth. And I was too dumb, too young, too idealistic to fucking hear what he was saying.
So just wanted to add a little caveat to that. Just because somebody is vulnerable and impressionable, right, that doesn't justify why you would take advantage of them, right? That's an actual sick mind that would do that. So the cultists, they're just giving themselves, a reason to justify why they seek to dominate and control and impose misery through their trickery. Right? That doesn't justify that's the way, that's the only choice you have left, right? There's still some kind of sickness that has to be alive in someone for them to actually attach to that as a valid justification. So I just want to add that caveat. What Mark's saying there is he can totally see why that would be enticing, considering if an individual doesn't want to actually see truth, right? It's very hard for you to want to put in the effort for them if they're going to keep refusing it. That will wear you down eventually. So that's what he's saying. Like, there's only so much you can do until you've just got nothing left. So if you understand it like that, that's the kind of infancy we're dealing with in these people who actually believe they're working for freedom, and why this is getting dragged out and prolonged and it's getting more agonizing by the day. That's what really needs to be understood, because if all the people that believe themselves to be freedom fighters, patriots, whatever terms they want to give themselves, truth seekers, starseeds, yada yada, if they all unified around the objective truth, which is objective morality and how it relates to the laws of nature, the conditions of survival that are here for us, that we don't get to decide how they work, but we suffer the consequences when we work against them. If that was the focus, the central focus of every single individual, this would be over in a minute. But that's unfortunately not, because of the religious mindset that's in the way. So we're just going to start looking at that from seeing a real life version of what that looks like and the contradictions that you're going to hear now.
Because they pay for it with the tax that they raise through the rates. But if you don't pay them their money, which they then use to set up businesses to compete with you, they'll go after you and they'll send these guys.
So right now he's saying he understands that there's this system in place, he's just talking about the councils, of how they dominate, right, and how they harvest and plunder. And he's aware that they will send these guys, which is obviously police, to do it, right? So he understands that that's not protecting the people. He gets it, right? So he's illuminating that. And then you're going to see some contradictions a little later, but I'm just going to keep playing it.
And drag you through the courts because you're not paying them to fund their commercial interests. Now, if you try to defend your resources, which you'd think you'd have a right to do, you'll get put in prison for federal crime.
So who's going to do the work to put someone in prison, right? Is it not going to be the police? Aren't they going to be the ones who are going to drag you, from having your liberty in this outdoor prison? And they're going to escort you to where? To the indoor prison, right? So who else is going to do that other than them? So that takes a will to do that. Someone needs to willingly do that. They need to put a uniform on knowing that that's what they do. Right, so just keep that in mind, right? Now he's going to go on and show you some more of his contradictions.
This is why there's mountains of legislation created, and that's why they create all this legislation to bind us down more and more and more and more. But if a law is not respectable, should we respect it? If the police are respectable, we should respect them, yeah? Yeah, absolutely. But if they're not respectable, we should not respect them. It's as simple as that, and respect is earned. As you know, I was put in jail for a month.
Just before we go along with his story, so he's saying that police, if they're respectful, we should respect them. They have never been respectful. Why do you think they get the term pigs? You don't give the term pigs to people who are behaving respectfully. It's not possible, right? So right there, it's a dead giveaway that their profession is not one of respect. These guys are not constables. They are immoral order followers who will do whatever they're told in order for what? Some chump change, that fake money. These are people who, at some level, are attracted to power. On some level. Whether they admit it or not, that's an entirely different thing. However, you would never seek to be weaponized if you didn't have some thirst for power, especially in the structure that we live under now, where you're not accountable, not to the individual people you're supposed to be serving. And they never have been serving them. If they were, they would be accountable to the very people, right? That structure's never been in place. So it's about understanding that. This is where this guy doesn't actually have the clarity. He's missing the clarity because up until, you'll see it later, he talks about up until, I don't know if it's in this video or not, but up until 4 years ago, he thought the police were great. That just shows you, right, that because it didn't happen to him personally and it wasn't in his view, then everything was fine. No different to the people that are jabbed today that still can't figure out what the hell's going on. Right? Just we get affected at different levels based on our level of conscious awareness. So his conscious awareness has brought it to his attention when he started suffering. Something's not right. Before then, because he wasn't personally suffering, everything's not as bad as what is it. There's some things I'm not happy about, but it ain't that bad. We've got some version of justice here. Right? This is the mind trick, and these people will fall straight back into this whole structure unless they're allowing themselves to see the truth for how it is. And he's showing you that he's incapable of doing it, because you're going to hear what he says in a moment.
For the actual crime, which I haven't been convicted of being assaulted by members of the police, the port squad and the cert squad. And it's interesting because I've got 7 ex-coppers that are working with me on my case at the moment.
Imagine that, having 7 ex-police working with you. Wow. How would that ever happen? If you think about it, the very vipers, right, that were responsible, they were probably, they were fining people when they were told to fine them, right? They needed to get their revenue up. That's all immoral, right? They would be bashing people. They would be, putting on sort of certain shows for the media before when they needed to, when they were told to. Those things were never a problem before, right? They'd be falsifying things. There's a whole bunch of stuff that every single one of those individuals would be in a position that they were required to do in order to keep their job, right? Overlook things that their, say, partners or other members are doing that are not moral, and they just overlook it, where an actual constable is sworn to actually defend everyone's rights. not protect those who are violating them just because they wear the same costume. Right? There's a bunch of things these people would have been doing, and now all of a sudden he's going to accept their help when they are the enemy. Their mindset is the enemy. And unfortunately, he's carrying the same mindset, right? And that's that bias and prejudice. Incapable of deciphering when his are active. Now, I've done videos in the past about this guy. I think it's down in the 20s, video post 20 something, that shows just, how contradictory his mind is. Right? So he's still going on, and it shows you, unless you actually face your own demons, your dark shadows, right, you're going to keep on that same trajectory. And sadly, he's continued on.
And we're also doing a collateral challenge to the state of emergency, and just so you guys know that to the police as well, okay? I'll support any police officer that's doing the right thing, that's decent and good, and I know that there are decent and good police because I know some of them.
So there you go. He reckons there's now some decent and good police, right? There it is. He's gone and said before that the very people who come after you when councils are trying to take your assets off you and violate you, right, financially, these people, so how can they be good? Because the very same people that he's saying good are the ones who come do that, right? Look at the contradictions, right? There's a real mind virus in play here that is preventing reality being seen for how it really is. And if we don't actually see truth for how it is, we are going to organize our own suffering. And these people, sadly, are really good at it, right? That's why they're not getting anywhere. And the ones who are in charge are laughing their asses off at them. And I'll show you more evidence of why they'd be doing that later.
Okay, even at my gym, I had a gym. I had hardly anybody had keys to my gym. There was a police officer that did. Okay, I'd given a police officer keys to my gym. So that shows that I'm not against police, I'm against corrupt police. Okay?
Like there's a difference. See how he's making a differentiation? You cannot be part of an organisation that is created to violate you, right? He knows that the police have an ABN. He knows all that they're corporations. Yet he's saying that some of them can still, operate under that false structure, the lie, and not be bad people and, be decent, moral people. It's not possible. You're moral all the way or you're not. Right? And so if you're going to take money to violate people, right, to be a professional aggressor for a political parasite, that's the purpose of police. It's to hold the whole slavery structure together at the civil level. Right? The military is at the national. This can't be changed. Like, that's just a statement of fact, if you're willing to see it. But if you're not, if you're going to make up lies and excuses as to why, he was nice to me, so he must be a good person, all that kind of BS. That's not how reality works. It's the entirety of their behaviour, not just some aspects that you like. The entirety. That's what needs to be considered when you're making your assessment.
Because over the last 4 years, what we've seen is that the police have become, or they're being used as basically the foot soldiers or the guards for the corrupt government who are literally committing crimes against the people. Okay?
So you see what he does? He actually believes that their masters are the criminals, not the ones who are actually doing the action. Their masters aren't the ones who are coming after you and shoving you in the paddy wagon. They don't do that. It's the very people he thinks can be good. Right, so that's really important to be able to make those differentiations about how one comes to their ideas of truth, right, and what's preventing it. Because if we are not brutally honest, no matter how uncomfortable it is, we are going to be on the side of our own enslavement. There's no way around it. That's not my opinion, as much as you might believe it is. It's actual evidence fact by look at the situation of what we've been living. He just sees the problem starting 4 years ago. I mean, talk about really not getting it. It's only 4 years ago that he didn't notice up until then, right? Because he was personally comfortable. That's the way it's done, is to lure people in a sense of security and comfort, with comfort, should I say. And then once their comfort's gone, then a certain level are going to start going, hang on a sec, this ain't right. But as long as enough people are comfortable enough, you can keep having it. And so this is now just a division between those who are uncomfortable and those who are still comfortable. All right, let's move on to the next bit. I think it's Mark now.
But it would be nice to be able to get a victory in the courts.
Oh yeah, this is where he's, my apologies. This is where he talks about good magistrates. This is a ripper.
And have some judicial fairness and some procedural fairness. That would be really nice to be able to get some of that. I haven't experienced a lot of it yet, but in saying that, I have had some interactions with some magistrates and some judges that have been very good. So I don't think they're all bad either. But there is definitely an underlying corruption that exists in there, and these people hold a lot of power.
Now, again, more contradictions, right? It's like, how can you have good people working to violate you, right? He knows that the courts are all fake, that they're not real, that they're under that corporate structure because they all have ABNs. And then he's going to say, but there's some good people in there, right? So you can see the mentality, right? It's constantly contradicting itself, right? That's the virus. It contradicts that which is true and verifiable and self-evident. So this is the beauty of what's going on here, right? So you can see the religious mindset imposing itself over the conscience, which is neutral, which is eternal. It doesn't waver. It knows truth. That's why we get one. Right? That's why we're imprinted with one. So we can access truth. Otherwise, there'd be no point in why we had one. And so the only way to actually deviate from truth is to implant a mind virus, right? And these religious people, and when I say religious, I don't mean just a belief in government. I actually mean these guys actually have this, God delusion thing, that there's this, personified deity that they can have a personal relationship with. These are the bulk of the people in the so-called freedom movement that are holding the whole progress up. And so hopefully getting some idea as to why that's happening. I think this time it's Mark's turn to speak.
A person does not submit to authority. A good person does not believe in authority and then take up a role enforcing authority. That makes you a bad person.
So when he says authority there, right, he means the whole idea that someone can have some kind of power over you, and that's legitimate. That's what he means. And our entire structure is that there's a bunch of people who just get given this right to have power over other individuals. As long as they carry this title, they perform some kind of rituals, they become part of some kind of club, you know what I mean? They have their own way of doing things. That means they get to have power over you. That's what he means by authority. Right? So he's just explained to you what that good person delusion's all about. Right? The idea that how can you be a good person if you're involved in a structure that violates individual rights? It's not possible. Right? If you don't understand that at the principle level, you're going to keep contributing to your own enslavement. And so this is the critical understanding that we need to keep reinforcing in our minds if we actually want to be free. So this is the kind of knowledge that needs to keep getting shared. And so you can see how it's done in real life. That's why I'm giving these examples to you guys. It's not to knock people, right? Most people think, oh, look at you, what are you doing, right? All you do is know how to knock people, right? Tear them down. That's the furthest thing from the truth. It's about showing you how the religious mindset gets in the way. It's show you the real life evidence of how it happens in the day-to-day so you can identify it. That's the point of it. It's not to knock people because that doesn't serve anything. It's to show you real life experience of how people think and how it's actually servicing those they say they're fighting. Right? That's the point of all the videos I do. If you haven't figured that out, obviously I'll need to explain it to you because far too many people still believe this is just about criticizing, because that just shows you where their minds are stuck at. Their minds can only see reality as being, critical of others. That's about as far as they can go, as opposed to learning from other people's mistakes. There's a value and a virtue in that, because that means that you don't need to go and have the physical mistake yourself. You can see others doing theirs, and then you can learn from it. So it's a growth moment. Let's move on.
People's insistence that their religious beliefs are somehow going to help get them out of slavery.
That's what this is all about, right? People who become police, they have their religious beliefs. People who believe in this deity, for example, or government, that government's legitimate, that you can have the right to dominate and control people through force and violence, right? Because you yourself don't have the right to do that as an individual, but you will vote for someone or like an idea of people who are allowed to do that, right? That's the source of slavery, whether you're doing it directly or you're doing it indirectly by giving consent to it. It's the human condition of slavery if you give your energy to it, Right, so this is what he's talking about. That's the religious mindset that allows for this to not be seen for what it really is.
How dumb could one possibly be? This is the whole idea of produce a mindset so that the slave stays a slave. And you still can't grasp it. You still can't understand the tactic because you're still too psychologically unsophisticated to grasp it. Fucking retards.
Now, before anyone gets too offended about the word retard, it actually means, it doesn't mean like having a mental handicap as you'll see physically. It actually means someone who is retarded, so prevented, like to retard progress, right? So their progress, their capacity for forward progress, for evolution, which is our natural state, has been retarded. So it's been inhibited. That's what the true meaning when he's using that word means. Yes, obviously there's volatility in that, expression. However, it actually comes from that essence. So just to understand, it doesn't just mean it's a put down. Even though I can see the energy in that, it's coming across as a put down for sure.
I really hate the people that are on our side. I don't have any good feelings for them. I hold them in nothing but contempt because they're so dumb.
Now, I can connect with that, right? I see this over and over. I see all this resistance to truth. People who say things like the Magna Carta stuff, right? As soon as you say that, you believe that it's someone else's role, or that there's, it's got some kind of value in it, but you're not, there's all these other avenues that you can explore as well, right? So I see that over and over again. And they make it like it's someone else's responsibility to understand it and do the work for them. And then they'll just grab what they want as it suits them, and then that's enough, right? As opposed to, no, there's a reason why I've deliberately gone to learn about this, because there's a solution in there that is connected to objective morality. It is connected to natural law, right? It's all bundled up into one. Nothing is isolated. Everything works in unison together. That's how life works. It's interconnected. That's why I go down that path, because I've identified that. And it's not been able to be disproven, right? It's an organization, it's a document that has clarity in it of a way that people from England organized their society, where there was going to be an allowance for public servants to make decisions on their behalf, but in order to do that, they needed to be accountable, just like you and I are. Without accountability, you have a power imbalance, you have tyranny. So they only allowed for it with accountability to we the people. That's what the actual constitution is, right? And there's only one in place today, and we're lucky enough that we're connected to it here in Australia, because we still run under that English common law system that they call democracy, right? Some people think that a limited monarchy is not a democracy. At its true sense, yes it is, because it's the people rule. We rule ourselves through trial by jury. Right? And that's all established in those common law principles that you will find as only a subset of articles in the Magna Carta, right? And that's still alive today because it was sealed in perpetuity, hasn't been changed. No, there's been no like the people haven't come and said, oh no, we don't like our freedom. We actually want to be enslaved, so we want you to change it all by stealth, and we'll just go along with it. That's never happened, right? That's happened in secret for a reason. And so these are the sort of things that show how people don't take their freedom seriously, because they're not really interested in learning the intricacies they need to understand in order to stand against these criminals, right? How to speak to people who take on that role of being a costumed professional aggressor, we call police, right? How to actually speak to them in a way that they cannot deny. Same with the judiciary, right? It's about learning how to do that. And you need to have a verifiable structure by which the whole idea of a crown authority, that's delegated to individuals, how that was set up. If you don't know that, you're going to use their false systems they've set up to trap you. It's about having the self-discipline, right? That's what Magna Carta 1215, or the subset of articles that are contained within it, is all about, is having the self-discipline for you to become a self-master and caring enough to articulate it, not only to yourself, but to other people. And then when they understand it, they do the same. That's the only reason I do this stuff. It's not to pull you out of your own individual problem. I don't know why people think that's what I'm here to do. No, I'm not. I'm here to show you and light the path so you can do that for others. All right? That's it. No more. And there's also a support structure, as you'll see at the end of this video, that we've set up so people can actually start activating. That's all there. But I'm not here to be your individual rescuer. So please stop contacting me for that purpose. Right? I've never asked for that. I've never said it. Right? It's never come out loud. I've never put it out anywhere. That's what I'm here to do. So for some reason, there's far too many people that believe that I'm here to be their personal rescuer. I am not. You are here to rescue yourself. And if you don't care enough to learn how to go about it, that's on you. Right? The karma falls on you. If you just want to go and try and win some personal victory just for yourself, and then you'll leave it alone, then you're just as immoral as everyone else who's part of this structure. Right? It's about staying the course. Right? No matter if you have the win or not, it's about standing in your moral courage, right, and fortitude, regardless. Yes, sometimes you need to take it in the neck and comply, absolutely. But at the core of it, you don't actually willingly give to the structure that is violating you. Right? You only do it under duress because you need to preserve your freedom, or what little of you have, in order to keep being able to educate others and influence others. That's why you do it. Let's listen on.
And that's what they deserve, and you deserve worse. You deserve to get hurt. I don't want to turn any of my attention onto the fucking evil psychopaths, because they're just like animals doing what animals do. You're the problem, not them. And you know what? Those fucking sick psychopathic animals told me that you were the problem when I was in their ranks, and I didn't want to believe them. Because that was my religion. My religion is I had too much faith in you. I had too much faith in fucking dumbass humanity. I had too much faith that you didn't have as black of fucking hearts as I believed you didn't. I thought you didn't have as black of hearts as you do. You don't give a fuck, because you ain't working to the solution. You're not working toward the requirements. You want your fucking comfort.
So just to be clear, what does it mean when it says black heart? It means to switch off your intuition, to override it with your comfort, with your desire for comfort. So if you've developed a belief that this is the right way, that someone has authority over another, if you've developed that belief, and it always generally comes down, not always, but majority comes down to believing in some external authority, creator being that's has the ultimate right for vengeance, which is punishment and reward. Right? So it's the most base carnal way to operate. That's what an inherent intelligent being would do. Right? If you believe that, that's you having a black heart, because you're switching off your actual divine intelligence, which comes from the heart center. So that's what he means by that. So you can see why he might be getting a bit aggressive, because that's the way you're controlled. And it's that mind virus that's implanted itself that you're really comfortable with, because you're getting all this emotional comfort and believing you've got some big daddy figure that's got a plan, and all you have to do is be its humble servant, all that kind of stuff. Right? That's relinquishing power. And that's how we get enslaved. So just to give some clarity as to what he meant when he said that.
And I'm going to share some Christian perspective on this.
So here comes the real ripper, right? This is where he's going to explain Satan.
There's Jesus, who's the way, the truth, and the life. Right? Then there's the other guy. He's the father of lies. We're over here.
Here we are. We're here.
So there you go. There's that van that goes off with the red and the blue. That's the two sides of the hemispheres of consciousness, where you've got the the authoritarian side and the real gullible following order side, and it's switching between the two. That's what those blue and red lights mean. And obviously you've got the Freemason checkerboard floor strapped all around it. So yeah, obviously the cult symbolism is thick and fast. So they've got their religion that they're trapped in, inside that metal coffin, and these guys are about to show you how they've accepted a satanic religion, because it was invented by the Satanists for them to believe these ideas, these very infantile, childish ideas.
We've got the father of lies, the founder of lies, from a biblical perspective. So that's where lies come from. God doesn't lie. God's the opposite. He never lies. And then you've literally got one side existing in that reality. They get their power from that special power that comes from Satan. Then you've got the other people like us who stand in the truth. And, we might not stand in the truth all the time. We might make mistakes. We should be becoming empowered with the truth.
So there you have, that's the one that's been set up for people to fall into, that it's like a separate living entity, right? And where did it come from? If you've got this all-knowing creator, why would they create someone like that, right? There's so many questions that don't get answered with these ideas. But, all too many people want to externalize evil and believe that it exists outside of them. So this is a really comfortable place to go. These ideas. They don't want to believe that they have the same capacities, right? They want to project it outwards. That's why the latest videos I'm doing, they get hardly any views, because this is all about the internal work, right? This is why humanity will not become free until they actually start doing it. And it shows you there's only a small number who are ready for this kind of work. The majority, they just want to know the problem exists outside of them, so then some external authority can fix it. And they're not responsible to do that. That's the drug, that's the addictive part. And that's what these people, unfortunately, who call themselves patriots, etc., they're right in the hub of it, and that's what's actually preventing us. So now Mark's going to explain what Satanism actually is.
It's the reasons what on earth is happening is here. To teach people what Satanism really is. Satanism is not the worship of the Christian entity/deity called Satan. That's an invented construct to scare people into doing what the church wants them to do. The worship of that entity is not what true modern Satanism is. Satanism is placing the self in the position of godhood and saying, fuck everybody else. I don't care about you. All I care about is me. Fuck you if I have to step on you to get what I want. Fuck you if your rights are taken. I'm not interested in anything having to do with you as long as I'm comfortable.
Now, what does that tell you? Think about what a police officer is. Does that not embody the heart, mind, and soul of a police officer? Someone who takes on that position? It's right there in front of you, right? And so he's saying that there's some of them that are good, right? What about themselves? What about their comforts? What they're not willing to look at? What are they not willing to come face to face with these religious people, right? So you've got these two versions of, what looks like opposing forces, but operating from the same religion. It shows you what religion does to people, how it disseminates them.
That's what Satanism is. And to this day, I was a priest of that organized religion. I had an official ordainment to the priest class of that religious institution that teaches that mentality. And people are still telling me to this day that they know more about Satanism than I do, and that what I'm telling them that Satanism is not what Satanism is, and you are dumb fucking loser children. You are dumb loser children. And you're the ones who are bringing everybody into the fucking morass of getting eaten by these motherfucking psychopaths with you because you're so fucking dumb.
As painful as that is to hear, that's actually pretty much the state of those who call themselves freedom fighters, truth seekers, who have this religious belief. Right? As soon as they believe that there's an external authority that has the right to decide for them, if they can or can't be violated, and when and under what conditions, whether you believe it's in a deity or not, right, or whether you believe it's in, vested in another man who's got a title, or woman, it doesn't really matter. It's the same idea. That's why he's calling people dumb, because you're working against your own intuition, right? If an individual that you never met before started using the same tactics on you, and you didn't see any sort of version of some kind of tag or uniform on them, would you accept the same treatment, right? It comes down to that simplicity. And so what's preventing you from seeing it the same when they put a uniform on? It has to be a religion, which dumbs you down. It shuts you off from your intuition, from your intelligence that you're imbued with. That's what he's meaning when he says that. And unless people are willing to actually step out and confront it, it's going to keep getting worse, and it is. So let's move on.
All right, please join me with prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for your power, for your strength, and thank you for giving us a strong conscience and a love for the truth. And we pray that you will continue to place stumbling blocks before our enemies and cause the oppressors to be brought to nothing. We pray that you will inspire us, empower us, and remind us of the power that we have access to if we can just have the confidence and the faith to walk in truth. We pray for justice, we pray for strength, and we pray that we'll be inspired and be able to inspire others. And this we pray in the great name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
have it, guys. Performed another ritual, right? There it is. It's like saying, I don't have it within me. I need to call to some higher being that, you know, listens to what I have to say. Well, it's been saying it for years, and look where we are. You know, humanity is sinking deeper and deeper into slavery. But they still attach, right? All the evidence shows them it doesn't actually change anything. It's you and what you do. And if what you do is prevented by what you believe, you're going to keep being your own oppressor. You're going to collaborate with those who laugh at you for still having this infantile mindset that you're calling out to some external authority that doesn't exist the way you believe it does. Right? And that's what's preventing you. That they're laughing at you. And you're doing it at Satan's headquarters. Like he's standing right in front of it. All the ones higher up are pissing themselves laughing. Right? They're just going to look at him. We've got them forever. These guys are never going to work it out. Right? That's what they need. They need you to prove that to them. So that's what they've done. They've come and proved it to the very people who are oppressing them, that they're going to keep collaborating with their own oppression while they believe they're actually working on the side of freedom. That's the game, buddy. That's as simple as that. Alright, so just wanted to show how those rituals work in people's minds. Alright, so this is the controversial again, just so you can have it repeated. Right, this has to be controversial. It's you having the courage to come face to face, you know, with that which is necessary to face in order for you to change. And these people refuse it. They'll refuse it to the death. Right? They won't. So that's what's holding us back. It's not the ones who are doing the violating. It's the ones who are collaborating with it and refusing to actually face the truth for what it is. That's where it all comes from. That's the sad part. And you can see, they don't come out and have a conversation. You don't see them saying, you know what, we've had these beliefs a certain amount of years. It's time for us to really own up to ourselves. You don't see them coming out and saying that in public. Right? It's always someone else is the problem. And that's why, you know, like Mark said, you know, about how they told me these people won't change. They don't want to see the truth. They just want their comfort. That's why we do what we do to them. Because they're begging us to do it. I wish I could find that video. There's a scene from the Avengers where Loki has all these people, I think it's somewhere in Germany, on their knees, and he says, isn't this what you were born to do? And then someone stands up and says, not by men like you. So what he's really saying is, yeah, we are, but we want a kind master, not one who's overtly vulgar. So that's the whole Trump white hat thing. You have it right there in your face. So this is that demoralized again, right? I did this in another video. You know, so these people who believe themselves free will say things like people rather pretend it never happened than admit they fell for it, believing the lies, and demonize those who told the truth. You can only do that if you've been demoralized, and to be demoralized means that you lack moral clarity. You lack the capacity to see the truth when it's happening, as it's happening, and you're not putting in all these stories, these comfort stories, to fit your biases and prejudice so you can remain comfortable. Right? So that's when I put this up. Do you hold those same standards up to the belief in a creator God? You know, that idea that there's such a thing, that created man in his own likeness, and omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient overlord that wields unchallenged power and authority to exact vengeance at will without accountability. That's the biggest part of it all, this lack of accountability, because power only overrides our capacities that we're endowed with once we become unaccountable. One you can have a personal relationship with, pray to when you're feeling desperate to find salvation, beg for forgiveness that requires worship and obedience to his will, and demands faith in its decisions no matter the personal cost. Okay, so this is how you demoralize someone. You get them to believe this is actual reality. So yeah, I just wanted to show how these people come to be their own saboteurs. And if we're not willing to be courageous enough to see, well, where does that exist in us? Right? Well, if that can happen in someone else, well, which parts can it happen inside me? That's the real work, right? The shadow work is that. For a police officer to be an actual constable, they would need to do that same shadow work as well, where they're looking inside themselves of what tricks they fall for, mind tricks, before they could ever be trusted to actually have any kind of authority where people would be confident that they're not going to abuse it, right? And if there isn't a system of accountability as a safeguard, well, the whole thing goes sideways. No matter how well intended you are, as long as there's no accountability, it will make sure the conditions are such That's the laws of nature, that if we remain unaccountable, it will just become a power-hungry festival. It just will. And so this is what needs to be done. And when you believe in things like this, you believe in unaccountability in certain people that have this authority vested in them. And that's what needs to be eradicated out of the human mindset. That's why I'm doing these videos.
That's what all religions are. Religions are false constructural mindsets that prevent you from seeing the truth and actually improving human life for the better. So what do you think? They want to give you the truth? They don't want you stuck in a religious mindset? They know that if you're stuck in a religious mindset, you can't win. They are assured of winning as long as you're stuck in a religious mindset.
And that's exactly what that whole thing was showing them. All the people that showed up are showing them, oh, we don't have anything to worry about. We're going to keep doing what we're doing as we're doing. You know, he never got up there and he said, you know, to the police officers individually and spoke to them as an individual that, you know, that uniform doesn't put you on. You put that costume on, right? That means you are just as vulnerable as we are as individuals. And at some point down the track, when people figure out what you've really done, you're going to need to stand in front of your victims, right? As an individual, without your little army, without all your training and all your combat and understanding, just as an individual, you're going to stand there vulnerable in front of us and need to answer for the violations that you actively went into bat for. And you did over and over again. You know, and saying to them, why do you think that you have all these addictions? You know, you don't think we know that you're not addicted to smoking, gambling, sex, perversion, you know, different types of drugs? We know you're all on that. Well, that can only happen if you violate yourself. And you can only violate yourself by going against your moral compass, right? So that's what you actually do. Who's speaking to them like that? Who's letting them know that, you know, what kind of mercy do they think they're going to get when they're going to need to face those people who jab their kids? And these people in costumes were the ones who terrorized the population into getting those jabs. Right? When they figure that out, do you think they're going to be merciless on them? Is that what they really think? Right? When they know that they've lost family members, people who really matter to them, they shut themselves out of other people's lives, they destroyed the quality of the relationships they once had, and these people in costume were terrorizing into do that. So this is the way you want to be speaking to these people, right? To let them know what's really coming for them. You start talking to them in nice ways, you know, oh yeah, what would it be like if it was your kid and all that kind of stuff. They're too far gone for that, right? These people are self-indulgent. So the only thing that's going to snap them out of them is we all, as individuals, start repeating that message over and over and over again, because that's all they are. They're just an individual. They're no more different to you and I. They just have the false illusion that they're protected while they've got the weapons, right? But they don't have the moral weapons, right? That's what they're missing. So when they come home or during the day or whatever it happens to be from that job, they sink into just being these empty vessels, right? They only come to life when they've got their false illusory protective structure. That's it. But by themselves, they are totally weak, and that's how you need to speak to them, in that way, when they're in their group, right? To isolate them down into the individual level. If you're not doing that, then you are part of the problem. And so if you are willing to do that, I've got something for you. So if you're ready to act, guys, you just go to magnacarta1215.com. There it is. You'll click on News and Articles. This will take you here. And then you just scroll down. And you'll see here there's a cover letter to download, and then there's the 12 points. It's like a flyer. So just showing the cover letter. There it is up here. It's always officer in charge, because that way it goes to whoever's the highest ranking officer on that day when they get the mail. The red part is just showing the editable bits, so you will change that obviously in accordance with the station that you're sending to, and then just change to black after that. But I just want to scroll down quickly. I want to go to this bit here where it talks about what's coming for them down the pike when enough people work it out, and the correct system that we're supposed to be working under, which is trial by jury, where the people assess the crimes committed against them, because they're the victims of it. So who's better to assess it than we're the victims, and the consciousness of the community, because there's a neutral space there. So it just says that, you know, they won't be standing in front of any government-appointed judges, magistrates, or court officers, because they're their protection right. They've created a legal protection network, which is just a way to conceal crime. So that will be gone. They won't have that. And then it just says, what's coming from them down the pike is the things that they're looking at: trespass, assaults, thefts, extortions, threats with menaces, malfeasance in public office, etc. Are most severe for sworn officers of the law who brazenly and without apparent remorse assume the role of criminals, which is pretty much what they're doing, hands down. There's not one there that could get away with it. The offences extend all the way to sedition, which means publicly denying the validity of the Constitution, and misprision of treason and high treason, which carry respectively the punishments of full asset stripping and life in prison or even the gallows. Then it goes on to say 2 final points for consideration. 1, people who commit crimes at the behest of others are always vulnerable to the risk that the order givers might decide to tidy up loose ends by disposing of the order followers preemptively. An example of which is given in the second QR code. And the other one is, most people are of the type willing to grant clemency to those who display remorse or are willing to assist in the apprehension or cessation of ongoing crimes. So it's just signed Commonwealth Constitutional Alliance. So it's all covered, guys. You don't have to put your name to it, anything like that. And there's the 12 points there. I've covered it in previous videos. So that's all the QR codes that are on there. I'm not going to read into it too much. You guys can read it into your own time. It's pretty potent, powerful. So that's all I wanted to show you. So if you're ready to back it, it's all done for you. You just need to put it together and shove it in an envelope. And you've got instructions on the website of how to do that.